By now, I'm sure you guys have heard of this chick, Bobbi Althoff. She has, she blew up over the summer. She just randomly scores this interview with Drake. This nobody, TikToker, scores this interview with Drake. Drake, who doesn't do interviews with anybody. And overnight, all of the black people, all of the black community, hip hop artists have put this woman on their backs to make her into a superstar. We need to talk about why black people need to stop doing that. Giving these culture vultures clout for no reason. Only for them to turn around and stab us in the back, which she already has. But I'm going to watch this video. I'm going to react to it. I don't like to reinvent the wheel. Jamari made a great video breakdown. I'm going to play it, react to it, give my take, and then go into more of my in-depth analysis. So let's get into it.
Bobbi Althoff is a name that has set these internet streets ablaze for around the last month or so. It all really started when she interviewed no other than comedian Funny Marco, who is well known for his deadpan awkward style of humor, which is very popular in the modern era amongst comedians. And this clip from that interview kind of shows off what I'm talking about.
Rip me out the plastic, I've been acting brand new. Rip me out the plastic, I've been acting brand new. You know what that is?
Is that Nicki Minaj?
So
don't you think it's kind of crazy that this nobody doesn't even know anything about hip hop, yet all these hip hop artists are literally putting her on their backs like slaves to make her famous? Let's keep going.
As you guys can see, there's not really much to it. It's just like an hour of this back and forth awkward banter. But like I said, this type of thing is very popular. I don't find it to be very funny, but a couple of these clips went absolutely viral. And after this, we would soon see her get the attention of Tyga, Drake, Lil Yachty, Mark Cuban, and all of a sudden, in the course of like 30 days, she suddenly had one of the hottest podcasts on earth. Now obviously this led to a lot of people speculating that she could actually be the world's very first industry podcast plant. This is something that has been very common within the music industry, where an artist comes out and sees this astronomical rise, and suddenly they're getting features with some of the biggest artists on the planet, and basically just getting these opportunities and looks that people would not typically receive when they're first starting to get some buzz around their name. And this is where the term industry plant comes from, because people feel like there's somebody in the background pulling these different strings and controlling the career of this person to make them basically come out of nowhere and seem bigger than life. You see, this woman started out on the mommy TikTok side of things, making videos like this, where, she still kind of shows off her awkward side. It's almost like she's making fun of the moms at TikTok. And basically, I would say that she was kind of doing the same type of dry humor.
Stop looking awkward. You look awkward. Smile. Just look entertained then. Like, play with your ring or something. Look entertained. Do anything. Let me just go to the bathroom. Maybe that'll be better. No. Okay. Wash your hands, but don't wash them too long. Make sure it's long enough that they know you washed your hands for the full time, but not too long.
I don't really understand why people think this type of thing is funny, but then again, there's people who probably think the things that I find funny are completely idiotic. Obviously, in general, humor is one of the most subjective things on the planet. And so either way, she gets this Drake interview, and this is when she really started popping off.
Am I your type?
I'd do it.
Thank you.
So I know people think that she's funny because I guess she's the American version of, what's her name? Amelia, the girl in the chicken shop. And to me, I just think that she's just way less likable than Amelia. So if I play just a little bit.
It was a nice personality.
Okay.
All about the vibes. And the bunda.
And the bumba.
What's that?
The bumba?
Isn't that the brother from Lion King?
What's a bumba?
A what?
A pumba?
A pumba.
Chunks are talking about.
I can't do this.
Maybe your fingers are too fat.
Maybe you're too fat.
This is not fair.
Best out of rock, paper, scissors.
So basically, Amelia has had
Wearing.
all the biggest UK, not just the UK, it's a UK show, but she's had American people there. She had, what's her name recently? J-Law, Jennifer Lawrence. She's had a lot of like, you know, just a lot of rappers and stuff on her show. But I think what I find more interesting about Amelia is that I think that she's just a more likable person, and so it's more entertaining. But this girl, this Bobbi, I mean, some people will find Bobbi funny, I'm sure, especially those that don't know what the origins of the character that she's doing. But I see this as like Amelia is UK based. So she had that UK push, which just doesn't have the same effects as an American push. But Bobbi, on the other hand, you know, is represented by, I believe it's like William Morris Endeavors, or either William Morris or CAA, I don't know. One of these like big agencies that have all these like superstar talent in them. So they have the infrastructure to push her in a more mainstream way than Amelia would. But let's keep watching.
Do you want to get them drunk? Is that what you're trying to do?
I mean,
Oh wait, this is her offset. No, that's not what I was trying to play. Okay.
like I do it.
You do it. I asked, am I your type? And you said I do it. It's not funny.
And so it was basically just an hour of this.
So some people think this is funny. I get it. Like, again, humor is subjective. But for me, when you've seen the original and you see a knockoff, it's just not as funny, right?
This awkward situation. And obviously this is where the industry plant speculation began, as people wondered, how is this girl who's only on her second podcast episode ever get Drake as a guest? We know by now that Drake does not like to do interviews. Any statement that comes out from him at this point is very controlled. When it comes to these type of things, he gets the final edit. They're filming on his cameras, he has the memory cards, and basically he just has a stranglehold over the content. I guess what I'm trying to say is this man would not just do an interview with anyone, and so for him to choose her of all people to do this interview with, people found that to be very fishy. You know, it'd be one thing if she was like a DJ Academics, who by the time he started his podcast Off the Record, was already notorious for his work on Complex. Obviously, his YouTube channel had millions of subscribers and billions of views. He had already built this large fan base for himself, so it's not the craziest thing when he comes out with his podcast and gets some big time guest. Whereas her, on the other hand, just comes out of left field out of mommy TikTok, and all of a sudden, within a month's time, she has one of the hottest podcasts on the planet. And this is actually her side of the story when it comes to how she got Drake to do this interview.
Drake liked one of the videos I had uploaded, and he followed me. I didn't realize it at first. Marco called me and he was like, Bobbi, look who just followed you. So I filtered it to verified only people. And I was like, oh my God, like why would he follow me? He's like, he liked the video. And I was like, okay, I'm going to shoot my shot to Drake. I don't know how this, I thought the chance of him replying was like a 1%. And the chance of him saying yes was like 0.000. Yeah. I was like, there's no way. So I was like, come on my podcast. I said, when are you going to come on my podcast?
And he
said,
game right away.
He was ready to do it. I flew out.
Notice how she doesn't stay in character when she's bitching about Drake. She's going to start bitching about him in a bit. Notice she's not in character anymore. It's interesting.
They're like, I think 3 days later. Wow.
And then you're off to the races. Now you can kind of get anybody you want.
Yeah.
So one thing,
obviously people felt like this story was a whole lot of cap, and that there must have been someone behind the scenes that made this all happen. Here she goes into more detail about the Drake interview.
Drake gave me the social clips that I could use, and then he was like, which one are you gonna pick? I was like, I'll do this one. He's like, okay, let's just tease it. And obviously I'm gonna trust him, because my initial thing was I was just gonna upload the video to YouTube like I had always been doing. I had no strategy. I was on my own. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even sure how to upload to Apple at all. I didn't know anything. I was like, I don't know how to even make this a real podcast. And I posted the thing. I got a message from Andrew at WME. He says, I'm part of the touring team. Can we talk? I said, okay, because I didn't know what I was doing. They signed with me that night. And then
you just didn't meet with anybody else? You're just like, this guy hit you.
So there she says a day after she dropped this clip, apparently some talent agent sees it. He calls her up that night and they sign this miraculous deal. No lawyers hired, no one looked at the contract. Nah, she just trusted this guy. And this is what DJ Academics had to say about WME, her talent agency.
An agency that's never had any foothold in podcasting comes out with an individual that has the biggest guest. So she's with WME, William Morris Endeavors. She goes out 8 podcasts later, she's like one of the biggest podcasters now. Guess the irony. Everybody, including her big guests, including the biggest guest, Drake, guess who they're signed to? WME. This is where favors get set up. I'm pretty sure somebody at WME started help pulling the strings to set all this in motion.
So that's how DJ Academics feels. He's off.
So here's the thing. Obviously, podcasters are going to look like they're haters or whatever. That like, why her? Why give this girl this opportunity? I have a little bit more of a nuanced perspective, in regards to this, because as somebody that has worked in media since 2005, right? And someone that has seen a lot of behind the scenes, I notice the segregation between black media and white media. And I notice that when these rappers, these people who get famous off of black culture, whether it's Drake, who is half black, whether it's, even rappers, they get famous off of black culture, but then once they become mainstream, white media takes them. So if you're on the red carpet, a lot of times what happens is their publicists are typically white. And their publicists stop them from going to black media outlets to, get interviewed. Another thing that used to happen too, again, worked in the media industry since 2005, worked on many music video sets. And these are black artists who get famous and rich off of black culture. Yet in these music video sets, they don't hire a black crew. Sometimes you'll get a black director, and thank God for the Hype Williams and the Benny Booms and the Chris Robinsons. And I used to intern for all these people, right? But a lot of times they're giving these things to, white run production companies who don't hire black talent. And so it's so interesting how when other communities they build amongst themselves, right? So think about the Jewish community. When they build, they, make sure the money passes amongst the Jewish community. When other, Italians build, they're doing that. When Asians build, they're doing that. But when black people are building, first of all, we're not the ones controlling our ecosystem, and therefore we're not the ones hiring our own people. And so you're getting famous off of black culture, but you're being loyal to other cultures. So that's the nuance that I think is interesting here, because I have an issue with Drake. And when it comes to Drake, who is, again, half black, and I understand Dr. Umar Johnson says, as long as you identify as black, you're black. But my issue with Drake is that because he doesn't have loyalty to the black community. But he has gotten famous. It's not his white side that has made him the biggest rapper in the world. It's not his white side that has made him, given him the talent. But when he's going on podcasts, he's not going to the Breakfast Club. He's not going to DJ Academics. He's not going to the black platforms, right, that are huge, that are already established. Even though the Breakfast Club is not owned by black people, that's another conversation. We need to own black media. But Drake is not going to the black community. When he's going, and he's very exclusive about who he's going to agree to do an interview with. He's very exclusive. But yet, instead of you picking you got famous off of black culture. So why don't you pick a black podcaster, even if it's not DJ Academics, right? You want an equivalent to this Bobbi girl and give a black podcaster an opportunity. But no, you don't. You decide, okay, you're going to go to, this nobody, this white, girl, nobody. And not just her. There's another white guy that he went to. A lot of people were like, it's not about race, it's not about race. Why don't those podcasters go to the white communities and get famous off of the white community? Why doesn't she go to Jennifer Lawrence? Because typically, when it comes to superstardom, it takes getting clout from the black community for you to become super huge. And so this girl, what we see happen a lot is now she's used all these rappers to become famous. Then what happens next? She's used black culture to become famous. Then she abandons black culture. All of a sudden, she's mainstream white. And she's forgotten all the black people that literally put her on their backs. Her not earning a dime. Her being lucky. Not earning anything. They just put her on their backs and make her famous overnight. It's offensive. But Let me keep going.
Obviously very connected within the industry and has a very good understanding of the back end when it comes to all things entertainment in both the traditional sense and in this online era.
Would you date someone that looks like me? Because there's just a person
What does that mean?
like looks exactly like me. They have a twin.
Maybe.
If I had a twin,
Maybe.
would you date them?
If she was like cool and like, you know.
No, she's exactly like me.
If I like
just,
connected with her, you know.
She's exactly like me.
I don't know like how you are though. I've never really been around you, so you know.
Yeah, I'm exactly like this.
All the time.
All the time. Mm-hmm.
Is it kind of strange to anyone else that this woman who is married with children is constantly asking during these interviews with these rappers if basically they would go out with her, if basically they would sleep with her if they like her?
Let me take your plane with me to New York.
Someday.
Do you want to see me on Spirit Airlines?
That'd be kind of cool.
And just a kind of unrelated side note from that interview, Mark Cuban, why are your feet so fucking dirty? You were so goddamn rich that you could pay someone a very nice salary to wash your feet. Now, you might get some freaks within the application process, but I'm sure you could hire someone else to vet out all the freaks. As a matter of fact, your feet should never be this dirty. My feet have never looked like this in my entire life. Like, if you're watching this video right now, why don't you look down?
I pay for myself.
Do you have veneers?
I do have veneers.
That's why they're so white.
You're pretty smart.
How much?
$90,000.
$90,000?
Mm-hmm.
I think they were worth it.
Cause I went to Young Thug's dentist. He had the best veneers
Who's
I ever
that?
seen.
Who?
Young Thug.
Who's that?
You see what I'm saying? So you don't even have the credentials to be interviewing these black people because you know nothing about black culture, but yet all of these rappers are literally giving this woman a platform for no reason. She has not earned her spot. And guess what happens when people don't earn their spot? They are ungrateful. I'm going to move on to where this story gets interesting.
So she's profiting off this urban culture. She don't even know who Young Thug is. This obviously rubs some people the wrong way. But the drama didn't start until she made this comment about the Little Yachty interview.
Because he was awkward. I walked into his house. He didn't even like say hi to me. So then I was like, said, let's go to the bathroom. So then we go to the bathroom and then we like get out. And then he's like, he's just sitting there with like his two assistants and he's not even acknowledging that I'm like in the room. And my camera guy's like setting up. I'm just sitting there like on my phone, like I'm like trying. And then he comes up, he's like, oh, hi. Gives me like a...
I notice how like she's very different when she's with amongst, you know, her white counterparts. The way that she's talking, oh, I went to the black place and this is what happened in the black place, you know, but this black place is what has given you a platform.
half hug and I'm just like, hi, then goes back to his spot and I'm like, dude, I don't even want to do this. I'm texting my friend like, Ashley, I
don't even want to do this.
need to leave. This is so awkward. I don't want it. Like, what am I doing here? And then she's like, lean into this during the interview, like call it out. So then during our interview, I was able to be like, why did you do that? Like, why did you make me feel like that? Yeah, so it was actually really, it worked out.
So after this clip went viral, people were basically saying that she was biting the hand that feeds her, saying that she was ungrateful. And people also questioned this like overall change in her temperament when she went on this show with Dave Portnoy and his crew versus the way she acts around these various rappers. And essentially there was a lot of negative commentary around her name. And then gasoline really got poured on that fire when she posted this video of herself at a Drake concert and it went viral. I mean, I won't lie to you guys, this video actually made me like her a little bit more. I love how Drake's in the background, I tried, really trying to hype up the crowd, and she's just in there with this bold face expression after he literally gave her an entire career. So this was like double biting that hand that feeds you, kind of saying like, hey, I came to your show and it was so shitty that I had no expression the entire time. And then people noted that after this concert, the two unfollowed each other on Instagram, and the interview was deleted from YouTube. So then people obviously started suspecting that these two have some serious beef. Dave Portnoy once again jumps in on the drama.
Sylvana's like, I heard that Bobbi slept with Drake and is getting divorced. So I asked her. I DM'd Bobbi.
What? You asked her, did you sleep with Drake and are you getting a divorce?
Yeah. She's like, I'm not commenting on that publicly.
Wait, so you just outed her? Oh. You just outed her not public comment?
LOL.
And so that was the rumor going around, was that she smashed Drake backstage. and that she'll now be getting a divorce from her husband. Well, she responded to those claims via her Instagram story saying, I didn't even want to do this podcast, and she's talking about the podcast with Dave in the first place, and now so much negativity is coming from it. I'm going to leave it alone after this, but this is the uncensored DM between Dave and I. Here's this boy Dave getting the scoop saying, my girlfriend says you hooked up with Drake and got divorced. I am saying that is not true. And then she says, I'm not commenting publicly, but off the record, you're right, that is not true. And so at this point, we really don't know what the truth is surrounding this woman. We don't know necessarily what's real and what's fake when it comes to her whole story, her whole arc. She really likes to go with this idea that she's broke, that she's not making any sort of money off these podcasts, that everything has been organic up until this point, that she just was shooting her shot with Drake and he said yes. But as of right now, like if this ends up being her actual downfall, it has to be one of the biggest rises and falls that we've ever seen within the podcast space in this short amount of time.
All right, so we know that this is not her downfall because after that, she consistently is still getting interviews with rappers. So here is Offset.
No.
Okay, so that's why. In a year, when I'm done, I'll take a shot.
So this is a question. So when you drink, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think his family want to hear you say that shit? Don't play with sis, man. She cool and shit, but she'll knock your ass out. It's sis. Tell her sis.
What do you call? Okay.
Fuck with my partner them though. When you want to drop some shit.
Anyway, so he's out here, joking with her. She even has Suki Hana, So basically, she has all the hottest rappers in the industry giving this woman clout. Despite her disrespecting Drake in that way, despite her not even understanding the culture that she's the culture that she's using as a stepping stone, which means she's gonna be ungrateful. The rest of these rappers, so Drake saw her being disrespectful to him. Apparently, allegedly, he unfollows her, asks for her to take down the video. But all these other rappers, because they're literally puppets, continue to promote her because William Morris Endeavors has a paycheck for them, or is their puppeteer. And that's why I just think that black media, we need to do better. We need to work together with the celebrity side of things and the either podcasting or journalism side of things. We need to have unity, and we have to understand what white exploitation is, because we all suffer from white supremacy. All of us. Drake might not suffer as much as the rest of us because he has more proximity to whiteness, not just through his him being half white and colorism, but also the fact that he's Jewish, and so that gives him access to Jewish wealth in a way that and the systems of Jewish wealth in the ways that other black rappers won't. So the reason why Drake may be the next rapper that has sold in line with Eminem might be not just because he's half white, because J. Cole is half white, but also because he was able to plug into Jewish wealth. And what I say to that is, as black people, we just need to empower ourselves. We need to be aware of what is happening and how we're being exploited and how we're being used as a stepping stone. Because what's the next step of this? You forget and completely that she had anything to do with the black community. For example, Brad Pitt. How did Brad Pitt become famous? I saw some pictures. He used to date black pop stars. He, I'm sure, used dating black pop stars. And just Google it, the pop stars that he dated. He dated a pop star, and he also dated an actress. And those actresses, obviously, they were in Hollywood, and they would have opened the doors to him for networking. Next thing you know, he books these deals, and he becomes a hit actor. And now Brad Pitt has no association with the black community. Jim Carrey did that. He got his start off of, the black community. And now he's represented as you forget about any of his ties. So what they do is they use you as a stepping stone, and once they blow, because they can't blow amongst, within the white community because it's saturated, so they use the black community as a stepping stone, and once they blow, they're done and dusted, and they forget the black community. And we have to be careful of this tactic happening, and we can't, just because your puppet master, your slave master, these labels or whatever are telling you, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. You can say no. You can say no. I respect Mary J. Blige. When this thing happened with Pink, and Pink, L.A. Reid, them, and just because, by the way, just because the executives are black does not mean they don't service white supremacy. So when they used her to appropriate black culture, and they used her to become famous, she went to Mary J. Blige behind the scenes. There was some award show, and there's a video that she talks about this. And she asked Mary J. Blige if she could collaborate with her. Mary J. Blige took one look at her and said, absolutely not. And so we need to have that kind of discernment to understand when somebody is appropriating our culture and using us as a stepping stone. We need to start working together like other communities and building ourselves and empowering and keeping the wealth within the black community and empowering the black community. And so we will have fewer people, outsiders, that we just allow. We just use them like almost like cheerleaders, where when this cheerleader is catapulted into the sky. Why do we do that for other communities? We should do it for ourselves, and we should keep it within ourselves. And I'm not saying that you can't collaborate with other races. I'm not saying that you can't once in a while, catapult other races into. But we need to. When you are the community that is the most disproportionately affected by oppression or disproportionately oppressed, you have to build within yourselves. You could look at any victim, every victim that you could ever meet is probably they're self-centered, they're selfish, right? They think about themselves. I'm not saying that they're selfish, but when you're in victim mode, you only think about yourself. And that's what we need to do right now, because we've been made into victims in this country. So we need to be thinking about ourselves and stop catapulting other races into superstardom. And they use us, they propel into superstardom, and then, hey, they forget about the black community completely. I'm not a fan of this girl. I'm more so not a fan of all these rappers that are just yes men to their, their agency and can't think for themselves, don't have the intellectual capacity. That's why I'm making videos like this for people to be able to have access to it and articulate it better. Those are my thoughts. And more importantly, we need these rappers to be more aware of the ways that black media, because black media influences the image of black people. So we need black celebrities, to promote black media, to improve the image of black people, because it affects them too, because they're black people. So we need these Sukihanas, we need these Drakes, we need these Offsets to make the intention when they're on the red carpet to go to black media first. We need for them, when they're choosing interviews, go to black-owned media first. Because when you're left alone and white media comes and attacks you, don't come looking for black media to just rescue you when you didn't serve us. That also applies to the behind the scenes in the industry. Hire black people, hire black staff. Not just in the makeup department and the hair department where you need it. Hire black staff in the production department. Focus on black economic empowerment. And once we focus on empowering ourselves economically, we will, and more of us, come into wealth, we will stop having these issues of people using us as a stepping stone. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. I'm Kenamo, your host. You're watching The Kenamo Show. And I'll see you next time. A peace.